Welcome to the Keep Going podcast featuring athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs. We got a great one for you today. We got Noah Sharp. She's an online trainer. She's an in-person trainer. She's a savvy veteran. She's been doing it for years. Would like everybody to welcome her, and let's get this thing started. Noah, how are we feeling today?
I'm excited to be here, bro. Thank you. What a hype intro. I was like, who are we talking about? I'm a veteran? Goddamn.
Yeah, you're a veteran. You're a savvy vet. Well, I know you've been training for quite some time. Just give the people back at home how long you've been training, what's your style of training, and what's your expertise in.
Yeah, I started going full-time 2019. I started doing it kind of like how most trainers started out with friends, family. Like before then, 2018, when I was getting my own shit together. And then 2019, I was like, dude, we gotta go all in on this. So that's when I literally like put my notice into my job, put my notice into my apartment, left Northern California, moved down to LA, and just banged on the nearest 24-hour fitness and was like, please hire me. They're like, how long you been certified? The dude looked at it. He was like, you got certified last week. I was like,
dang. Yep. Oh my gosh. Wait, so you were in Northern California. What were you doing? That you had a 9-to-5 or?
I was a server. I was serving like at a BJ's.
That's it?
I was serving at a BJ's. I was pulling like doubles, and that was it. Like I had nothing prior. I started lifting. But I mean, I did sports when you're younger.
Right.
When you do sports when you're younger, it's kind of like you already think you know a lot. Like you think you know about lifting. You think, because you've been an athlete forever. But yeah, I was serving. I was still like partying a lot, being kind of many about it. But once I started getting my own shit together, I was like, wow, this is lame. I should do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm like, certification. How much do personal trainers make? The regular shit that most people do. And Googling it, and I was like, cool. I'm gonna do my NASM. I took my NASM test literally like the week before I moved. And I moved to be a trainer. I was like, I'm going to go to LA and be a trainer. And I took my test the week before, so I was like, I guess I better figure it out because I don't got an apartment anymore. So
Just backtracking a little bit, you're like, well, I had to get my shit together. What do you mean by that? What does that look like for someone to get their shit together? Because you hear that all the time, you know what I'm saying?
Well, for me, it just became the ability to stop going to the same pattern, especially if you're from a small town. I think you just get into this cycle, especially if you have money. It's almost harder to break out of a cycle. When you have no money, you're going to look for any opportunity to just start to, eat. It's just paying rent. It's in that. But once you have a good steady income and you're in your own town, you have a regular job, your friends all have jobs in town, you all work Monday through Friday, you all go out together Friday through Sunday, and it's just like being able to snap out of that, I think was the hardest thing. And it was just being like, okay, now I go to the gym in the mornings. Okay, I do that. Okay, I go to the gym in the mornings. And then it's like, maybe now I drink on Fridays, Saturdays, but Sundays I go do that was just kind of the slow steps of it when I was still bullshit and I still look like shit. Right. But that was like and then like, okay, maybe now I track my calories. I downloaded my fitness. And it was like those steps that were starting to, and then eventually it was like a big realization. I was like, dude, if I gotta get the hell out of here. Yeah. You see the same people. You probably go home, visit home. Yep. You see the same people. You go to the same bar. They're like, oh, Keaton. Keaton. And then you go out and like you're at the party and you're like, bro, you're still like it's the same
it's
shit.
Messed up. You get in this cycle. It's monotonous.
So for me, I was like, dude, and I was like looking at servers. They've never left They've never left Santa Rosa. They've never left that town. And I was just like, man, I could die here. Like I could for sure, and it would be comfortable. It'd be comfortable as fuck. My friends live here. Like all my family's here. I could.
Was there like a certain breaking point? Like was there like a moment you remember? You're like, oh, I'm getting out of here.
It was a combination of. I remember a moment of looking at one of my coworkers, and she was like 50. Like I went to school with her daughter. She knew me through her daughter, and I was just like, oh hell no. Like like you know what I mean? Like oh man. And it was no offense to her because she's living her life, but I was just like. What the? Like, I'm sure none of these people planned on doing this as their career. Like I'm sure that she didn't plan on being a 50-year-old server who's like taking cocktail orders. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then another big pivotal thing when Nipsey Hussle died, I wasn't even like at the time like I liked Nipsey, but I wasn't even a huge fan. But it was something about watching this pivotal figure just be dead. Like not like oh he had cancer and it's just you're dead. Right. This is someone who came from nothing, worked his way up, pours in the community, like impacts all these people, has kids, found the love of his life, and he's just dead. Gone. Like that. And I was like, and it just sat with me, and it just sat with me in such an uncomfortable way where it's like, something in me, I think at that point in time, just snapped. Like something in me, like literally, and I don't try to pretend like it was a thing because like he was my idol. It wasn't even just that. It was seeing the mortality of a human being who's gone from 0 to 100. It's similar to what we're seeing happen like with our guy Miguel going on. When you watch him who's come from nothing and they work their way up, and you just see the mortality and the finite of life. And that it was just something that snapped. I couldn't sleep in. I'd wake up at like 5 and I'd stare at the ceiling and I'd be like, guess I'm up, I'm going to the gym. And I was like, I'd wake up and I'd put like either Gary Vaynerchuk or I'd put like Eric Thomas on my headphones and I'd get up and I'd just go and I would just go, and it was just becoming this, I was like possessed.
Right.
In like the craziest way possible, where I was like, I got to do something. Like
you got addicted.
I was like, I'm not dying here. Like this is crazy. Like I figured out the timeline, told my complex I'm not renewing my lease. When my lease ends, that's it. And that's what the amount of time I gave myself to leave Northern California. I was like, when my lease is up, I'm moving.
And you figured out Southern California is going to be the answer? Like, the first thing when you got to Southern California, what'd you do? Because you're like, I'm starting a training business, or I'm going to go full time, or like...
My first thing, I was like, I need to get a job. Because like, that's who I am at my core. Like, I'm never going to be a bum. I'm never going to be someone who's, living off my partner. I'm just not, it's not in me. I was like, I'm going to get a job. And I made a commitment to myself. I'm not going to go do serving part-time, because if I do that, I'm not going to go balls deep into this. I need to do this. I need to like live or die, eat or starve on this. So I literally took my test, my PT test, the week before I was supposed to move. Like, boxes are packed. I'm moving down here to be a trainer.
Right.
Took my test and passed, thank God. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to retake it and figure it out. And I got down here and I was just like, Google, what gyms pay their trainers the most? Right. I was like, okay, Gold's 24, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, all right, 24 down here is nicer. They just opened a new one on...
wherever
was it Ocean? Downtown Long Beach. Yeah. That's the one.
So you go to Long Beach right away. You're Los Angeles County and Long Beach.
I was either going to live in Santa Monica or Long Beach. I liked Long Beach better because it was more about, I liked that it was, I could walk around. People knew each other. People looked each other in the eye. They talked to each other. So living on Santa Monica, I was going to live right off that exit where it's just madness. And I was just like, don't really want to do that.
Right.
Thank God. I did not go to Santa Monica, but it was just, everything was coincidental. I'd already been in Long Beach. I had friends who had been in Long Beach. My brother lived in Long Beach. He had moved out here to do music. So I was a little bit more familiar. And
the stars aligned.
Yeah, everything was just like, okay, it's Long Beach.
Right.
And literally showed up. Was like, hey, you guys hiring? Guy, like, big buff dude took me to my interview. And then like literally looked and like made me do like a little test. I didn't even get all the questions around the test. And he's like looking at it. He's like, oh, you got certified 3 days ago. I'm like, yeah, but I'm ready to work. I'm ready to, he's like, for sure.
You're
like,
hungry.
okay, well, this is the initial where, we'll call you back into your next one. I was like, cool. Gave me the runaround. I would call, was giving me the runaround. And I was just calling. So I think I bugged them to the point where they just let me work. Because I was just calling them like every 3 days until they let me come in and work.
Right.
And then that was it. I lived there. I lived there for like a year. No,
oh my gosh.
It wasn't a year. Because I lived there. I built up my clientele. I was doing like 40 hours. I was like, dude, I'm making money. Yeah. I'm like I make my own schedule. All this stuff. And then that was August 2019. And then what happened in February 2020?
Oh yeah, COVID. Jacked you up.
Back to zero.
And then after COVID, or like post-COVID, then you started getting back.
COVID was just like a whole of a time. I always describe COVID as like a mirror, because I don't know any other time that I can think of where we've all been forced to sit inside with ourselves. Right. And just sit with yourself.
That's why it's like a mirror.
A mirror.
Yeah.
100%. Anything you've been running from.
Life is a mirror too, though.
Life is a mirror.
Yeah.
But COVID was this thing where you're like, hey, everyone who's been running from your shit, everyone who's been running from yourself, anyone who doesn't sit still, anyone who just uses the outside world as a distraction, X, Y, and Z, you're going to sit still. Right. And for me, it was just like, I've never been not able to work. Like, I've always been like, I think that was it. So for me, it was having to sit there. Luckily, and like, thank God I had like residual income, things like that. I was still, pushing online, but just sitting there in silence, I was just forced to just fucking get real comfortable with me. Right. And I think that kind of started to seep into, because, by the end of the year, I met Adam. Right. Adam's like literally.
Great dude. Great guy.
Love him. Dude, I mean, it's just.
Good entrepreneur too.
By the end of COVID, I was at the point where I was like, all right, maybe I'll interview for a job. Like I'd make a job interview and I'd go and I'd get the job and I would just like blow it off. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but it was just like, dude, like going to a desk job. Like my last interview was at literally a car dealership, where I was gonna be answering like, and like you know me, like I'm not only am I a people person, I'm someone who has to be doing. And it was just like,
hands on.
I'm gonna sit at a desk, I'm gonna wear a button up in flats, and I'm gonna go answer phones at a car dealership.
Oh my gosh!
Can you picture me answering?
I can't picture you doing that. Never in a million years. Never in your lifetime.
And then, so right before...
But if you like doing that,
good for you. Good for you.
Because there's people that are great at that, right? But...
Not me.
Yeah, not you.
I would do it. I'd be sitting there like doodling. I think I would go crazy. And then right before I was getting ready to take that job, my old FM from 24 Hour Fitness, hey, we're opening. They're going to let us open next week.
Yeah.
Fucking full of shit. They're going to let us open. And I'm like, cool. I had literally just left the interview for the thing where I got the job. I got set up with the interview.
Oh, right.
Called them. I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I just got like my previous career. I'm finally able to go back. They were cool about it. And then like 2 days later, he's like, yeah, they're not opening. And then, but because of that, like 2 days later after that, I get an email from Adam.
Right.
Hey, we saw your resume. That's, because I had my resume from when I first moved.
Right.
We're thinking about opening this facility and it's going to be this, that. And I was like, paying money? I don't understand. You want me to pay to work? Like, it didn't even
it's a different concept, right?
Way different concept. You want me to pay you for me to work.
But it makes sense. Once you meet the owner, then you're like,
Once you get the idea and the premise of, okay, I'm renting a space. If you compare it to that of like a barber, someone who rents a chair, makes sense.
Like the owner, like Miguel, he walks you through why he set it up this way, because he used to be a trainer, like trainer for trainers.
Everything is super intricate. Everything is super detailed. They know why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
But at the time, I was just some kid who was just like, $1,200.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell am I like?
Right. Yeah.
Well, so, and I was like, I don't know. And I was like supposed to meet with them, and I was gonna think about even like not doing it. And I Googled the address, and I was like, let me just see where it is. I'm supposed to meet with them tomorrow. And it was directly across the street from my house.
Dang.
And I was like, you're kind of a dickhead if you just don't go. Like, kind of like, I don't know if it was God or what it was. Like, you're kind of a dickhead if you don't go. So
there are no coincidences.
Zero. I show up, just fucking warehouse.
Yeah.
No equipment. There wasn't even a floor at the time.
Really?
Nothing.
You were there from day one, huh?
Before that.
Before day one.
There's still dead cockroaches. They're still trying to get in. And it's him, his cousin JP, and then Erica. I don't think Bren was there involved at that point. And they're showing me that, dude, he's like, we really believe in intentionality. We really believe in gratitude and like the way we want to run it. We want to not just be, owners. We want to really be involved. We want to help people really develop themselves like mentally as, human beings, entrepreneurs.
The family.
Everything he was saying. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. You know what I mean? And it was just this crazy, like just everything was in lining. And I was like, okay, $1,200. I'm like, okay, if I do this, move this around. And that was like October. And I was so just juiced to be a part of something bigger than myself again. Yeah. Like it was something I'd never done. I'd never done the entrepreneurship thing. I'd been a trainer, but it's different when you do big box. Big box is great if you're starting out. Right. Because it teaches you sales. It teaches you getting very comfortable with talking about money, asking people for money. Right. Which if you see trainers who have never done big box, they go straight to being independent contractors. You see that they have a hard time with that. Right. The money part is most do. It's like they want to talk about everything but the money. Yeah. They want to like the money for them. If it's not expensive for them, then they have a hard time to asking others because they project their perception of expensive onto other people. There's a lot of things that you kind of skip if you skip the part of going to a big box. Well, you know what you're saying? They talk about everything besides asking for the money. I just heard this gentleman, he's from the South. He's 92, so he's got a lot of wisdom, but he came up with this saying. He's like, oh, people go all the way around your elbows just to get to their thumbs. Excuse me, they go all the way around their elbows just to get to their thumbs. They beat around the bush, especially out on here on the West Coast. You come down to Southern California, you can't really get a direct answer. About anything. Yeah. And I'm just like, yep. Yeah, I said I wanted chicken, and then you gave me something else. Yeah, it's... You know what I'm saying? It's something, that's why, like, even with the concept of whether or not you're talking about a facility like this or self-made, tell people, I'm like, you can go right into it if you're down to do like the introspective work, the work at home, where you're listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, you're listening to Andy Elliott, you're listening to Andy Frisell, Ed Milet's, and you're doing the homework at home to get good at sales. But if you skip that part, if you think you're going to be good, because when you're in this lane, you're an entrepreneur who trains.
Right.
And that is the mentality that people don't have. They think I'm a personal trainer and I'm just going to come here and I'm just going to figure the rest out. I'm like, you're an entrepreneur who trains. And that requires the ability to know sales. That requires the ability to have charisma, be able to talk to people, all these things. There's people who have kinesiology degrees who suck at personal training. Yeah. Because they have none of this and they can't talk to people. They're like...
Well, what do you think is more important, EQ or IQ? You know what I'm saying? Because some people just, they're really book smart, but then they go into the public world. They can't talk to people. They're like...
I think one can be. I think one is easier to be learned. I think if you're someone who has great EQ, it's a lot easier to sit there and read a book and take a course rather than someone who has no social skills and no ability to connect and no ability.
You think that's a lost art? Like people that don't have social skills nowadays?
I think it's like anything else where it's a muscle that's flexed. And I think we live in a society where you don't have to flex your EQ as much because it used to be you had to go to a grocery store and you had to talk to someone and they checked out and they're gonna ask you, and maybe even learning like eye contact. Like people are uncomfortable with eye contact, which is crazy. Shaking hands. Like you saw me when the guy came in, what's the first thing? I'm stand up, yes sir, shake your hand. Maybe that comes from like you've been in the South a lot, I've been in the South a lot, maybe it's that. But I think it's a muscle that's not flexed enough because you have a society where if you want to date someone, you don't go to a bar and learn how to talk to a guy or a girl. What do?
Yep.
And then, you know what I mean?
All day, every day now.
All day, every day. You want to see people? Do you go out to the mall? Do you go out to that? What do you do?
Well, no, it's crazy. I even went back home this past summer, and I'm waving and smiling to people, and they're just like, they're all in it. And like they were doing that to me, and then I come back out here, and you do that out here.
Dude, they're looking at you like you're crazy. They look at you crazy. I have to switch it back and forth because I'll go back to Texas, and like people look at me and smile, and I have to like be like, dickhead, hello, and I'm like, because it's like out here, you make eye contact somehow. They're like, do I know you? Is there a reason you're smiling at me? And I think if you go, like, some are probably, like, if you're maybe, like, your OC some areas or, like, even Long Beach some areas, you're probably going to be okay. But people look at you like you're crazy. But these are just, like, skills that you develop over time. You develop because I'm sure, like, your parents taught you, look a man in the eye, shake his hand. You know, X, Y, and Z. Whereas now it's like you don't have to develop social skills. You can get through... You could probably have a kid go through their entire 18 years of life and have minimal social contact and have like homeschool, phone, all these things. Like you could probably have minimal social contact at this point in life. You can go a full week inside. If you wanted food, what would you have to do if you couldn't leave the house?
I don't know.
No, let's say you're hungry. Okay. You don't want to leave the house. What do?
I can't leave the house?
Let's just say you don't want to.
Well, then you just go on your phone and order.
Okay, same thing. Like you want to talk to someone, but you don't want to leave the house. What do?
You go on your phone.
Okay, computer. You want to like see what people are doing. But you don't leave the house. What do?
Social media.
Yeah, there's a way that you don't have to really be in contact with anybody. So it's like, if you have the EQ, that's a long way of saying. If you have the EQ, I think the IQ is a lot easier to be learned. I can sit there and read a book every night and learn about AI. I can sit there and take a course and learn about kinesiology and the human body and anatomy and all that stuff. But there's people who they have no social skills, and you went to school for 4 years. How many people do you know that are like on the spectrum that thrive in school that can't make eye contact? And that's no diss to them, but I'm saying the point is this. One is, I think it's still reps. It's still a mental game. When I came out of COVID, and I don't know if you were this way, bro, I had to retrain myself to not have anxiety in like crowds.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would remember going to fucking Bonds and being like...
Right.
And now in hindsight, I'm like, bro, fuck you guys, all bullshit. Fuck you. Like, you guys took 2 years of our lives, and that's a whole.
Bonds is a grocery store, if we don't know. So she's going out in public.
I say Safeway, but I have to revert to Bonds because we're in Southern California. I usually say Safeway, but I mean, and that you go to a whole separate tangent about what they really did to us psychologically. Like, what do they really do, and what history of the world have they ever shut down the entire planet for 2 years?
It's crazy.
To protect the vulnerable and weak instead of isolating the weak and vulnerable and letting everyone else live their fucking lives. You shut down the entire world.
We live a crazy life.
And think about the kids who are going through the most developmental stages of their life, who they locked away for 3 fucking years, who still to this day are psychologically
now they're going for job
fucked.
Interviews and like...
Bringing their parents, bro. There was a fucking poll on why they weren't hiring Gen Z or whatever the fuck it is, and like 20% of the managers or owners said because the person brought their parent to the interview.
Oh, really?
Yes, like that's a real fucking thing right now. Can you
Oh my
imagine?
gosh.
So it's like you have an entire generation that for like 3 pivotal years of their development, they were locked inside and put in front of a fucking tablet, and they weren't allowed social interaction. My godson literally was scared to go back and take his mask off. Talk about the psychological fucking effects of what they've done.
Right.
Was scared. A little boy, he's 6 years old, was scared, crying because he said, "Hey, you don't have to wear a mask anymore." Crying. I'm gonna
Right.
die. What the fuck is going on?
Actually, let's go back to your story. So you come to LA, you come from Northern California, you come down to LA, you see the concept of the gym, you start getting clients. From there, you're building your clientele. Now, I guess with this theme of the show, it's the Keep Going podcast. So what kind of kept you going and what keeps you going now?
Like, in what manner?
For business, personally, experientially, you know.
I think what I've learned is the way that I keep the boat moving forward is I have to constantly be spiritually, like this is my 3 points: spiritually, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
I got to feed all three. Because if not, I think burnout is an overused word. I think burnout is something that's like, they think it's it's like the end effect and not just a symptom. And I think for me, if burnout is a symptom, I'm not attending to one of those three.
Yeah.
So like for me, I can be mentally on it. I'm on my reading. I'm listening to podcasts. I can be physically on it. I'm on my macros. I'm crushing it. And I'm like, why do I feel off? Why am I having anxiety?
Right.
And it's like, I'm not attending to my spiritual. I haven't prayed.
Well, what do you do when you feel like you're at a low frequency? Do you have like a certain... Wait, side note too, you got 3 of the pillars. I got one more. So I call it pies. Like when I'm talking to any... Usually it's a female if we're going to pursue a relationship, whatever. But physically, intellectually, emotionally, and sexually, like you got to be on point with all those. So I call it pies, and they're like, what the hell are those?
I'll ask you this. Do you perform better in your business when you're getting laid all the time or when you are not?
First option.
Interesting.
Wait. I didn't even let you finish. I should let you finish.
To my part. No, go back to your part. You feel like when you are... Okay, let's ask you another question. Do you watch porn?
No.
Why?
Because I think it's a vice. It's negative. It's low frequency stuff.
Are you like someone who only fucks when you're in a relationship, or you fuck whenever you can?
It's relationship for me.
Like for you, you're not down to...
It's got to be one. I don't want to just go out.
You don't like strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm a little different though.
I thrive. I think
some people just go around.
When I think at this point in my life, I think in order to go 120% in my business and every aspect of my life, I would never do a relationship unless it was something that we were equally yoked. They get what I'm doing, they get the vision, and we're going in this lane. Sex for me is cool. I think I love it, but I think at this point in life, like me, and you want to get really blunt with it.
Yeah.
Coming is
Get blunt with it. Come on.
Coming is like a means to an end.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna masturbate, it's because I don't want to kill anyone tomorrow. I have 100 stresses in my life. This is gonna just take the edge off so that tomorrow I'm not killing anyone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Physically, at this point in my life, if I'm only dating to marry, I'm only dating to have kids.
You're intentional.
I'm intentional, dude. Especially being in LA, like 95% of the people in LA, like I think everything's very transactional.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to
Yeah.
everything's very transactional.
It's sad.
I want this. Can you give me this? If you can give me what I want, I'm down to give you what you want.
And that's completely different from like, I'm from the Midwest. We don't do that.
Whereas I want, hey, you're in this, I'm in this, boom, we're going this way. How are we rowing the boat?
Right.
Was your role in the boat? Was my role in the boat? Life's gonna get hard. We're probably gonna fuck up. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. You're gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
We're in this. Like,
just keep going.
That's all I want. And if it's not that, I don't want it.
Right. Even like in business, like relationships, like I always follow the AAA strategy. You want alignment first. So if you got your values aligned with what you want personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise, then you can take action. And then once you take action, you got to make small adjustments because life's going to come at you.
But I think that's why I don't put it with my spiritual, physical, mental, because I need to be running at 100% speed in all three of those.
Gotcha.
And I'm not going to be able, if you're not able to be running parallel with me in those things, if you're not spiritually yoked with me, if you're not someone who values your physical, the way you take care of your body, if you're not someone who values pouring on yourself mentally, if you don't mentally stimulate me, vice versa. If I'm not running this way, I should be running 110 miles this way.
Yeah.
And I should just come across someone who runs parallel.
Right.
And then we're equally yoked.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's me stopping to look and find someone who wants to run. Do you want to run with me?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a fucking person who's a psychopath, and all I really care about is winning. Is that cool? Like, I don't want to do that. I want to fucking run, and then I want someone who's equally yoked with me. You don't have to necessarily even care about the same shit I care about. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to be someone who cares, because there's plenty of like people that are probably fine and don't care about getting rich.
Right.
I like money as a source of freedom.
Wait, so do they have to have the same like vision, or like what it like?
They have to be down to be like, I think if you're a business owner, whether you're a leader in your relationship, a leader in your company, a leader in anything, it's your job to paint a vision that is so big that the people either in your company, in your family, in your relationship fit within the vision.
Right.
You're not just painting a picture for yourself.
Right.
Right? So same thing, if you have a partner, if you meet your potential wife, it's not like, I'm gonna build Keaton Fitness and then Keaton Fitness and I'm gonna be da 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 da.
Yeah.
That's not how you paint the vision. That's not how you dream when you have a partner, right?
Right.
How do you dream? We're, us. Even talk about your team, we. And I talk with my trainers, it's we, it's us. If something's going on with them, if they did something, hey, what are we we? Same thing in relationships. Okay, what are we doing? What does your partner's role look like in your future? Are they staying home? Are they watching your kids? Do they have a career goal? Like, that is something I feel like you should be, that is step one.
Right.
Because why am I dating you? Like, what the hell do I look like?
That's where I go to that alignment. Then you take action.
Exactly. But that's a reason why I don't necessarily factor it into my own personal way of not getting burnt out or whatever, because we should already be equally yoked in everything. But this is just me. I can't take care of anyone. If my spiritual, physical, mental is not on point, I'm not taking care of anybody.
It messes with your energy so much,
so you being like, oh, is sex a part of it? Yeah, but like, that should be a given. First of all, you're not dating anyone you're not fucking. That's a fact. Are you dating someone you don't want to fuck?
No.
No. So it's like, why is that even a question? I'm not dating someone who's not able to run alongside me. I'm not dating someone who's not down for the dream. Yeah. We're in it. If you don't want to be a bodybuilder,
same frequency.
Yeah, we got to be on the same frequency. I don't care if you're not a bodybuilder. You're doing yoga. You're doing whatever. You're doing Pilates sports. I don't give a shit. But you're doing something. You're pouring into yourself. Because I'm unattracted to you as fuck.
They have a mission. They're building something.
Imagine having a girl who's a 10, who's like lazy as shit, eats hot Cheetos and all that shit, doesn't read, doesn't really care, sits and watches like fucking Sex and the City all day. You come home, she's on the couch. She looks hot though. Cool. Like, who cares, bro? Who cares?
Right.
So that's like, for me, it's just like, making sure me and God, like, it's, am I walking in alignment with God? Am I taking care of that side of myself? Am I pouring into myself physically? Am I feeding myself the right food? Am I, walking mentally correctly? Am I pouring myself mentally? Am I reading? Am I listening to the right? What am I feeding myself? And spiritually, what am I feeding myself physically? In all aspects.
Yeah.
And that's usually the fucking 3 there. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And if I'm burnt out, it's because I'm not taking care of me in one of those aspects.
Right. And wait, you mentioned vision. So like now, it's 2024. It's 5 years since you've been to SoCal. You've built some business. What's the next best step for what you're trying to build here and expand and grow to your brand? It could be personal brand, your business, however you want to look at it, or both.
In my personal brand, I think I'm finding the freedom to have fun in what I'm doing. I'm putting out content daily, and it's about,
good job.
Okay, how do you, because I think it's like anything else. If you've been dating the same person, if you've been running the same business, if you've been putting out content, eventually it stops being fun.
Yeah.
And it's like finding, how do I have fun with it? I'm not doing content anymore that I do not have fun with. And that's like, it comes out in my brand. You're seeing the stuff I put out.
Yeah,
it's very much like you see me in all of it. It's not really, rarely am I putting out stuff where you're like, okay, because if I'm bored with it, I'm not doing it. There's plenty of times, like with my videographer, we start something, I'm like, I'm bored doing this. And if I'm bored doing it, I'm assuming like, and that's not to say, because there's content that you're like, that was shit, and it just fucking goes off. When that happens,
you never know sometimes.
You never know. And there's times we get through the full filming, but most of the time if I'm like, dude, this shit is so played out, I'm not hopping on trends, I'm not doing that, because like, what is the purpose? And I always try to look at what is behind everything I do. What is the purpose? What is the purpose? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? As for the business, I'm expanding, obviously with my trainers, and trying to make sure that I have people in my team that align with not only my core values, and because eventually I'm going to have multiple teams, multiple cities. I'm not planning on staying in, Southern California forever, because just the way
Good place to start though.
I fucking love.
So if you're sitting in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska,
you stay there. You stay there. Don't come to California, dude. No, and the problem is I love California. I love Southern California. I'm from California, but just for multiple reasons that you already know about. I talk about off camera that it's not a place right now to start a business. It's not a place right now to thrive in a business. You're working 6 months of the year, 6 months of your year, you're paying taxes on. Like you're just, those are taxes.
Gotta think about all that.
You can keep the other half. You're working to August to pay the government, and the other half you get to keep. So you have to work twice as hard to become a wealthy entrepreneur. I don't want to have kids in California as of right now because of a lot of reasons. Like there's just a lot of things where I'm just like, but I love California. I say that to mean I love the weather. I guess I love the weather, but so eventually having a team in Texas. Probably
So that would be your next move, maybe. Texas is like a serious thought.
Serious plan. So Texas.
I like that. You heard the correction. Serious plan.
Okay, and then expand from there, and probably likely end up trying to build a team on the East Coast. Assuming I just don't like the weather of Florida. I would love to live in Florida, but I don't like the.
Why'd you correct me? I want to know. I'm still thinking about that.
The plan?
I said serious thought. You said it's serious plan because I always look at everything you got to do.
A thought prerequisites a plan.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think a thought prerequisites a plan. So if you're like, for example, everything look at its thought.
Yeah.
Everything you look at in life, everything we come across, at the one point, this was a thought.
Right.
A microphone at one point was a thought. Everything you come across in life at one point was a thought. Without a plan, without action.
Right.
And nothing like that, Florida doesn't exist.
That makes sense.
So for me, it's like, okay, are you putting action? Are you putting effort? Are you putting intention? What are you doing?
You're very intentional.
Very intentional.
That's why I always follow the 5 levels of intention. I don't know if you ever heard this. Have you ever heard that? What I think, say, do, believe, and then feel. So they all just go in alignment. And so I follow those 5 levels of intention because I pay attention and then I give intention to the coincidences I want in life. That's the mathematical equation of luck. I've learned that. I've had a lot of mentors, so I'm very blessed.
And you know me, I'm very much like, I want to see it. What are we doing? What did I say? And I was like, hey, I told you.
Yeah.
I want to make X amount this year.
Yeah.
What am I doing to do that? I said, You said, oh, you told that. No. I want to see it. I said, see it, write it down, send it to me. I'll pay you. Like, I don't care because I want to see it. I want to know what are we doing, where are we going? And it's crazy that I think to me that my brain works this way because I'm so unconventional in everything I do. Like nothing in my upbringing or there's no reason for me to be here.
Right.
Makes no sense. I'm a high school dropout.
Yeah.
Like I come from a freaking, 6-person, 2-bedroom apartment with cockroaches, a single mom who worked 3 jobs. Like no plan. There's no planning in any of this shit.
Shout out to all the pest control companies if you want to go up to Northern California.
No, I think they got their hands full. I think they got their hands full in LA, man. I would fucking.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my dude, they're like fucking dogs out here. It's like chihuahuas running around.
Half the time you're stepping in poop.
Dude, human poop. But for me, like when you think about that, like I have no reason to be someone who is like, I need a plan. I want to attack it like this and that. And I think it's just like you become a person who craves not only stability when you come from chaos, you crave stability and you crave success.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I thrive in chaos because of my upbringing, which I think as an entrepreneur is good because I think you're in a position where you're constantly putting out fires. So I thrive in chaos, so that helped me. But then I also crave running away from it. I crave the success part of it. I crave the stability part of it. I crave, okay, I want to know like, how are we doing this? What are we doing? Like I remember being 15 and I was waiting. Like I had one of my mom's friends was supposed to get me from school. And I called her 5 times because she was late. And she's like, dude. And I got in the car and she's like, yo. She's like, did you not think I was coming? I was like, I don't know. She was like, that's so sad. And I was like, not sad. I got to know I want to know what's going on because there's no stability. There's no consistency. So you're like, I try to now in my business, I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? I want to know where is the boat pointed and I want to go 100 miles an hour in that way. I don't want to necessarily move fast, but I want to move correct. Yeah. So that's why I move with super big intention. Because I don't care if we're moving fast. I can do this shit forever. I fucking love this game. Entrepreneurship is the most competitive game on the fucking planet. Yeah. I fucking love it. But I want to make sure where are we going? Are we moving correctly? Because I don't want to waste any fucking time.
Don't waste time.
So I'm super intentional. That's why I say plan.
Right. And then so for like you mentioned success, like everybody's got their own definition. I want to know what your definition of success is because some people just think it's financially. And for me, I don't think it's like that. But I want to know what you think. What's your definition of success?
For me, success is the consistent pursuit of my own personal excellence. Yeah. I'm dedicated to the expansion of my being. I'm dedicated to the expansion of my personal excellence. I think success is you're constantly chasing the 1% better. Yeah. And then
break that down further is like, what are like some tangible things that align with your definition of success? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people give a definition.
I think it's being blissfully dissatisfied. I think when you're...
Yeah, Ed Milet talks about that all the time.
Yeah, Ed Milet talks about it.
I like that line.
Man's a fucking genius. Because he takes these concepts that you would just be like, oh, yeah. But you think about it, and it's like saying, I want to be grateful for what I have, and I want to pursue better consistently.
Right.
It's not saying I'm unhappy with what I am. It's not lack of gratitude, because I think without gratitude, you can't have true happiness. I think success requires gratitude. I think success requires humility. People look at someone like Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, and they're like, oh, they're not humble. You know how or Michael Jordan, you know how humble you have to be at the top of your game, the number one fucking athlete in the world,
right,
and say, how can I get better? And that's where the mindset I crave to have is like, I want to consistently say, how can I get better financially? That includes financial. Okay.
But even though I got to...
Go ahead.
Humble. You said humble. And I was like, I learned like maybe a year ago what the definition of humble is. You think lowly of yourself.
No. Humble is being aware of who you are and your gifts and lack thereof, and being very, very conscious of your strengths while knowing it doesn't make you better than anyone. Or let me actually rephrase that, and I'll take that all the way back. Do you think you're better than some people?
Yeah.
No, keep it a buck. Yes. So do I.
Yeah.
But not because I'm just...
Let me refrain. I think I have better habits than some people. That's what I think.
So like this. Do you think it would be like egotistical for Tom Brady to think he's better than some quarterbacks?
No.
Why?
Because that's what makes him better. That's what makes him Tom Brady.
Yeah, but how did he get there?
Because the work instills the worth.
Exactly. So I think humility is knowing your gifts and knowing your value while being aware it doesn't make you better than anyone, or it does make you better than some, but not because just you're born pissing and shit and gold. You're better because you were down to put in the work. Being aware that you are better than some and aware of your gifts, but they could also be where you were if they also were down to put in the work and the effort. So I don't think humility means that you lower yourself, but you believe in the ability of others to rise to where you're at if they just did what you did.
Yeah.
The same way I could fucking fall tomorrow if I lost all the habits and the implementations I have.
Personal development, yeah.
And I would be over here. How I think silly it would be for me to think that as someone who wakes up at 3:30 most days, eats, tracks my 99% of my food, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not better than anybody. I'm not better than the guy who sleeps till 10 p.m. and drinks every night and fucking da-da-da-da. Yeah, I'm probably better, but not because God just favored me and like I'm some like holier than thou shit.
Yeah.
It's because I'm down to do the habits, I'm down to do the work. And I think humility is being aware of where you are and your gifts, being aware that anyone else could also be there if they just did what you did.
Right. With that being said, you look at everything we've been talking about. You went through some of your journey, some of your story, and then from there it's evolved into who the person you are today. Are you happy with the person you are today? Or when you talked about that blissful dissatisfaction?
Blissfully satisfied, always.
Yeah.
I think I see how far I've come, but I also, I'm so painfully aware of how far I have to go. And like most people, I'm my own biggest critic. I'm my own, okay, if I can just take it 1% better. I don't think I've ever been at a point that I love myself more ever than I do right now.
That's great.
But it's because of what we did.
Congratulations, by the way. But
it's because, thank you. It's because of what we just talked about. Right. It has nothing to do with the fact that I sat in the mirror and said, love yourself, you're beautiful. It had nothing to do with that. I've never loved myself more than I do right now because consistently, I can say for a fact for the past 1,000 days, I've tried to move the needle as much as possible daily. I've never poured more into myself physically. I've never poured more into myself spiritually. I've never poured more into myself mentally. I've never been at a point more where I did my first round of 75 Hard 2022. I've never been at a point where I've been more consistent in saying I'm going to pour into myself to move the needle. If I can just move the fuck needle like this.
Right.
And because I've done that, not because I move the needle 1,000% every day, because I've been dedicated to just doing whatever I can to be better. And there's days where I fuck up, and there's times I fucked up, and there's things I'm not proud of. But for the majority of, I can say the past 1,000 days, I've done everything I can to be better. I fuck up? Okay, cool. Pick us up. Tomorrow, how are we doing? Better.
Right.
And I've done that so consistently, and I've poured in myself in that manner consistently, I can be truly proud of myself and not just say, look in the mirror, I'm proud of you, but because I've done the actions and I've done the habits and I've built a person that I can look in the mirror and be like, bro, you're fucking gonna run through a wall. You're gonna fucking run these fuckers over. You know what I mean? And how and that just amps you up and you're like, you know what I mean? As opposed
for the
to
people sitting at home or watching this, what's something that you would give them? There's so many people that have so much anxiety. They don't have motivation. They don't have inspiration. They're really low in life. Maybe they went through a breakup. Somebody's passed away. What would you tell them to instill good habits? Or like, what would you tell them that you can offer?
You can become, if you become a master at controlling the controllables, control what you can control, you will become unbeatable mentally, spiritually, physically. Because let's say your girlfriend breaks up with you.
It has happened though, so that's fine.
Okay, yeah, it happens to all of us.
Girlfriends. Yeah.
Okay. And you can either A, stick to the plan, stick to your diet, go to the gym and cry at the gym. You can cry on the way to the gym.
Yeah.
But you go to the gym, eat fruit, stick to your diet. You're sad when you're doing it, man. You're like, man, and maybe you're thinking mentally like, man, I just want to get wasted right now. But you don't do it. You stick to the plan. You're sad through that. Or you can make a bad situation worse. And you can say, fuck the gym. I'm not going. What if she's there? Oh, I'm going to go eat because it's going to make me feel better. I deserve it, man. I'm having a hard time. Eat. You're going to go drink. So then you're going to put on more weight. Anxiety gets worse with alcohol. Depression gets worse with alcohol.
Snowball effect.
Like, and what are you doing? You took a bad situation and made it worse. You have people who've been like, I just had a conversation with my best friend about this. Oh, I had a bad month, or I had a bad this year. I'm like, you know how hard it is to have a fucking bad month?
Yeah.
Did something bad happen every day? Or did you make a situation that would have been a terrible situation extend for 3 to 6 months because you decided to not control the controllables? So for me, like, even I've had times where I'm like going through it and I'm depressed and I'm like, I think about eating like shit and I'm like, well, I can eat like shit or I can not eat like shit. I'm gonna be depressed. I'll probably feel like sad either way, but I can either feel sad and fat or sad and know I'm on my shit. And so it's like compounding effect. And if you truly approach life, like, everything is a compounding effect. Everything is a win or loss. Everything is checking the box or not checking the box. You're making deposits in something. And if you're someone who struggles with anxiety, depression, all these things.
That's a golden nugget, by the way. I'm writing that down in my notes. Everything's a compound effect.
Like everything. And like, it's like, even if you thought about like your reticular activating system, right? Which Ed Milet does talk about. What are you looking for? What are you training your brain to look for? And if you're someone who constantly is playing the victim, if you're constantly like, but my anxiety, but my depression, but so-and-so passed away, but I just got dumped, and that becomes your story.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start looking for excuses and you're going to look for evidence to back up your thoughts consistently.
Right.
If you don't control your thoughts, you're going to look for evidence to back up your actions and thoughts. So if you're constantly living in victimhood, you're going to look for evidence to support that victimhood. As opposed, if you're someone who's like, I'm going to fucking win, and I'm going to be sad when I do it. Dude, there's days where I'm just like, I just got to get through today, man.
Yeah.
I just got to get through today. I just got to get through this workout. I just got to get through hey, if I get through this, I can be at home by 4 and I can be on the couch the rest of the day, but I got to get through the shit I got to do till 4 o'clock.
Right.
And even, you know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that. And you get there and you're like, well, I did what I was supposed to do today. I'm just going to show up tomorrow. Like, breaking it down. But you compound that, you're going to beat anyone. And you're like, if you're on competition with yourself, you're going to win. But even if you're talking about from a business standpoint, who can stop you if you are competing against a bunch of people who only show up when life is good, or only show up when they're not depressed, or only show up when they don't have anxiety, or only show up when they didn't get dumped? Dude, life is hard. Get a fucking helmet. Like, you want to talk about it from that manner, but also the aspect of like, dude, how are you building yourself to be a high achiever, but you're only going to perform when life's easy? But by default, you're chasing a path in life that is self-proclaimed to be the hardest path. Yep. Like, if you want to be the best athlete, the best entrepreneur, the best spouse, the best parent, you're saying, this is going to be hard. It's not going to be stressful minimal of the time. It's going to be stressful most of the time. So if you only train yourself to perform when it's not stressful, you're actually training yourself to not perform 75% of the time. Right. So how are you going to win? It's impossible. Right. So it's like, who are you training yourself to be? You don't go train for a Spartan race by like going kayaking. It wouldn't make sense. You want to train for a high stress life and be able to win high stress environments and situations. You want to train to be able to operate through monster. Chaos. You have to train yourself to operate in chaos. And saying I'm only going to operate when I don't have anxiety or depression, or my relationship's good, or no one's dying, dude. It's not about ignoring the emotions. It's saying these aren't going to dictate what I do today. Yeah, they're here. I'll deal with these. Like, you just need to spend minutes and moments in them. You can't spend weeks, days, years. Like it's. Have you ever worked sad? Yeah. Have you ever worked mad? Yeah. Have you ever worked and known someone died? Yes. Like, you mean like it's like the outcome is the same. The emotions behind it might be different, but the outcome and your effort should be the same. It shouldn't dictate your actions. Your emotions shouldn't dictate your actions.
Right.
That's not saying you should ignore your mental health and not deal with the emotions that come with life, but it's saying there's a time and place, and my emotions get a seat in the car, and they're there. I'm aware they're there. I'm not a monster. I'm not a robot, but they're not driving the car.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you ever watch The Office?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember when he has a GPS and he drives the car into the lake?
Yes.
That is the equivalent of saying, well, no, the machine's telling me, like, it's like, my emotions told me to drive into a lake.
Right.
So I did it. That's how silly it is, like, to live your life based on my emotions are going to dictate what I do today. It's Michael Scott or whatever in the car. It's like, turn right. And he's like, no, bro, it means veer right. Nope, turn right. I'm going right into the lake. It's like, okay, so that's how you're going to live your life? Because emotions they're not even a concrete thing. They're not facts. Thoughts are not facts. Your feelings are not facts. Things are not facts. And the fact that we live in a society that tells you feelings are facts, how you feel is reality, is crazy. Yeah. And that's why people like you and people like me who just are be like, I'm going to ignore how I feel right now and just get the shit done, you'll beat 95% of people. Right.
Right, 100%. So if anybody's watching at home or on social or whatever the case may be, and there's one thing that they can take away from today's show, what would that be? What's your message to them?
Control the controllables. Show up. Keep showing up. Yeah. Good days, show up. Bad days, show up. It's the biggest gift you can ever give yourself is becoming a person who shows up for yourself and others despite how you feel.
Right.
You will become an unbeatable monster.
Well, there you have it. Well, if anybody's looking to follow you, what's your handles? What's your information?
Instagram at Noah Sharp is the best way. Always contact me. I'm also on YouTube, Noah Sharp Fitness, but always Instagram. Shoot me a DM. I'm posting.
You do online training too.
Online training, NoahSharpFitness.com.
We'll drop the handle. So you guys can have that.
But I'm posting content for even if you don't do that. It's free content daily. I haven't missed a day since like December 23rd. So I'm posting free shit every day. So go follow me.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming here.
Always, brother.
And
thanks for having me,
keep
man.
on going for all the people at home. We appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for more.